All right, today I'm going to show you how to create a pendant with a woven wire and capture any stone without a hole in it. So let's get started. This is the one that I've got to practice with. So measurements, it's about 1.5 inches tall, about 1 inch wide, and about a 1/2 inch thick, and not heavy at all. Some sort of fossil coral. So I've got 20 gauge wire here. I chose a color that I felt like matched the stone pretty well. This is a brass, and I've got 28 inches of it. I always like to start with sketching out the stone, deciding what is the top like this and what is the front. And I like this side best, so I'm going to start by tracing that out onto a piece of paper. And this just kind of helps give me the overall flow of how my wire is going to go. So I know I'm going to have a loop at the top, and then what I'm always going to do is I'm going to come from the left side here, and I'm going to loop around that and go to this side. So my next wrap will do the same thing. So what I'm really planning out here is, how many of these do I want? How close or far apart should they be? And will the path that I've chosen adequately capture the stone? Because this one right here would have it kind of falling out the bottom, so I have to put at least one more right there so that it's at the bottom as well. So let's get started. I've got, again, my wire here. I'm going to take about the 1st inch of it and bend it around my favorite thing, which is a chopstick, and this is just I feel like a good thickness for that hole at the top for a necklace or something to go through. So got it wrapped around there. Now I'm going to put a few twists in it, so nice and tight, and I'm going to just twist this 2 or 3 times. I'm going to go with 3 and then clip off the extra, and then just try to make sure that little piece that was clipped off isn't going to get me. So I've got that. Now I'm going to work on starting to put it on my stone. So my stone is here, and work my wire off of the chopstick. So my stone is here. I'm going to start with the wire. I'm going to push it so that it's kind of centered in the top of the stone when I look at it from the side, centered here. And from the back, I'm going to take that and then go over to the right so that it looks like that. So from the front, that is going to wrap around this way, and my goal here is to take this up and around that stem. So really, you can fight with it a little bit, especially at the beginning, trying to get it really on there well and in the right spot. And I like to go ahead and I'm going to put several pieces of tape on this eventually, but I'm just holding that in place, and I'll have to move it every once in a while, but this will help me go up and around that. This is one of those jobs where you could use an extra hand, so that's what I'm looking for there. And then this is going to go back around to the side here. So before I continue on, I'm really going to just make sure that I like the shape of how this fits the top of the stone, and that it's nice and snug on there. And again, especially at the beginning, a little tape here will help, and I'll have to keep moving this tape around. But this is then going to go around the back. So again, kind of looking at my design that I drew out. Do I like it? Trying to get an idea for the spacing there. I'm going to take this piece of tape off, and I'm going to loop the wire behind that spot right there. So this is where I'm going to try to loop this through here without kinking it. So very slow, very gentle, and then kind of pushing it through to create a gentle loop. This wire is soft enough and thin enough that it is very pliable and shouldn't give me any troubles here. But again, if you are too quick with this, you could end up putting a kink in it. So I want to go nice and slow so that I don't end up with any ugly spots. Okay, so got that pushed down there, and now I'm going to go around to the front again. Always, just kind of checking my work, smashing that down, putting some tape on it to hold it in place, especially at the beginning. Now I'm going to wrap around to the front again, and that's where this tape is now in my way. And now I'm going to take this wire up and behind here, again being careful not to put a kink in it. And trying to design this loop so that it is the size that I like it to be for this stone. So from here, that looks like it's a little big. Can always switch to my smaller pliers here if I need to adjust that loop a little bit more. I gotta be real gentle with it, making sure that I don't scrape this brass color off of it. All right, I like that. And now we're gonna go back around to the side. And before I do anything else with that, I'm gonna again make sure that I like where this is. I'm using the nylon pliers to just kind of push it into place, and I'm gonna use another piece of tape, just a little one, just to hold that in place, and move around to the back and get this tape out of my way. And again, now I'm gonna loop it through behind here. And I will repeat this process until I get to the bottom. So in my design, I felt like I would have more room for a couple more loops in there, but at this point I'm starting to run out of wire, and if I were to go over here, I may not have enough to go underneath. So I'm gonna shift gears just a little bit and bring this wire up from the bottom, so I make sure that I'm really getting this stone in here tight and adjusting the size of that. And again, I'm going to go across the bottom here as well, bring that up to the back, and I really can finish this off a couple ways. I could go ahead and loop behind there to tighten that up, but I'm just going to tie it around this wire here a few times. So again, trying to avoid putting a kink in it. I'm gonna gently bend it and fish it through there. So it takes a few times, kind of back and forth, pushing, holding to get that to come up tight. And once I have that knot tight, I'm going to just continue. And again, I would like to do this at least 3 times. This is probably the hardest part of finishing this off, is probably the hardest part, because you're working through such a small space and trying to get this wire nice and tight. But it is worth it in the end. So, switching pliers if necessary to bring that around nice and tight. And once I have that wrapped, and I'm going to bring this back around here so I can cut it without having that sharp end exposed. So right to there. Always thinking about, I don't want that wire poking me or anybody else, so I'm going to clip it off so that it's at the back. At this point, I can remove the tape and adjust anything that needs adjusted. Again, working from the front, I would just work to compress, smash this wire down anywhere that it maybe feels like it's sticking out too far. And you know, I still have a little bit of flexibility with where my wrapping goes, so getting the spacing of that where I like it. Once I get that, I can turn around and work the back. Now, the back gives me an opportunity, if there's some things that are loose, I can take this wire and I can put this bend in it. And I mean, you could put this on the front too if you like that, but I prefer the front to be just nice and smooth. But these bends on the back will just kind of snug up the wire and maybe work to hold it better, or move the wire where you want it to stay. And once I get this, most of the time I would also want the loop at the top to be facing that direction, and that's my finished weaving.